You told J.D. Vance you're open, your vote is up for grabs.
Yes, my vote is in play because it can't be Trump running. So I'm not living in communist America. I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing. And DSA, again, they say things like, takeover of key industries, government. That's communism. There is a definition.
By the way,
Is the political landscape changing right before our eyes? Bill Maher says his vote is up for grabs and J.D. Vance may be the future of American politics. Today on America Only, we're breaking down Bill Maher's explosive comments, the growing divide inside the Democratic Party, the rise of Democratic Socialists, and what it all means for the 2028 election. If you want uncensored political commentary, breaking news, and the conservative analysis, subscribe to America Only. Let's get into it.
Trump's doing that too.
Of course. Yes.
And to a degree that we haven't seen any other president, Democrat or Republican, do.
Great. That's crazy too.
He's got a piece of intel, and a piece of the AI company.
He treats everything like it's a real estate deal.
You told J.D. Vance you're...
And I'm going to give Bill Maher this one. Donald Trump, he implemented, I believe it was it Quantum Leap? I can't remember the name of the program, to ramp up government subsidy of these AI companies. I understand the argument for this. But that being said, Bill Maher is basically saying, listen, Trump's not going to be the guy in 2028. And this opens the door for a moderate liberal to vote Republican, and I am here for it. Look, I think Trump did what he needed to do. I think he needed to do a lot of other things, and he failed in some areas. But I'm very happy with a lot of the things that Donald Trump has done. I'm not a fan of the war. I'm not a fan of the extended closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the destabilization we're seeing in the region. I was a fan of his efforts to stabilize the region, and I'm hoping that we can find some stability here. But there's a lot of things that I think Trump has done wrong. Now, Trump's come out and said that he wants to pass the SAVE Act, but he is not taking action against the politicians who are obstructing him the way he went after Thomas Massie. Now, by all means, criticize Thomas Massie, because as much as I am a fan of Massie, I disagree with him tremendously on many, many things. But I stand by that I believe he's largely principles. I'm not playing this game that he's some great grandstander. You don't have to like the guy. But he's out. This is it. Trump defeated him, called for him to be primaried, and he was. I don't see Donald Trump doing the same thing with John Thune, who is obstructing the passing of the SAVE Act, which has passed the House now twice, and they want to put into a spending bill. The expectation the parliamentarian and Senate will not allow this, which again, the Republicans could just remove the parliamentarian and be done with it. They could get rid of the filibuster. They could be done with it. But they're not. So the question is, why isn't Trump going after these Republicans the same way? Well, to be fair, it might not be that Trump is not really trying to pass the SAVE Act. Maybe he really doesn't want the SAVE Act, but he doesn't have the political capital to go up against so many Republican senators. Senators are substantially more politically powerful than just a single member of Congress. But in the meantime, my friends, more to the point, Bill Maher could actually be Republican? Bill, I welcome you. I made the first switch.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've always been a fan of Bill Maher. I mean, I've always watched Real Time with Bill Maher. He's always leaned left, but he always has seemed reasonable. And it seems like there is a big political change amongst these moderate Democrats. They're starting to go to the right. And I mean, what's wrong with that? Yeah, we welcome you with open arms.
In 2020, I was supporting Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang in 2020 for the Democratic Party. When it was clear, it's such a wild circumstance. Bernie Sanders, I feel, let me down. And I was excited for Tulsi. I was excited for moderate Democrats. And we could not get there. And today, the Democratic Party is it's fallen into absurdity. And so I would prefer this. I would prefer a Democrat that was sane and moderate. I'll put it this way. I'd vote for Bill Maher. I'd vote for Bill Maher in 2 seconds. And I actually told Bill, I said, if the Democratic Party listened to you, they'd be winning every single election. And you know what? We'd be happy about it. We would. There's a lot of moderates that are voting for Trump and aren't big fans of Trump. 9 million people switched from Obama to Trump in the 2016. They were Obama voters, not that they were switching, but they were Obama voters and voted for Donald Trump. Give people an opportunity for a moderate politician, and they're going to take it. And the truth is, Trump has been the moderate the whole time. Now, J.D. Vance, I think, will do a great job, and I'm excited. I wonder if it will be Marco Rubio or what Bill Maher is interested in voting in if it's not J.D. Vance. But what I will stress is that I think whether it's Rubio or Vance, Bill Maher's vote Republican in 2028. I'd be willing to bet. I'd love to sit back down with him and go over this stuff because he's saying it right here. But I'd love to, in a couple of years, see where his head's at. With all due respect to Bill, he is 70 years old. And so what worries me is this moderate leadership on the liberal side. We call it moderate, but Bill wasn't always a moderate. He was fairly left a long time ago. You know, the left and the right were much closer together. My concern is, and I say this not to be macabre or anything like that, but for Bill Maher, you know, he's 70 years old. Life expectancy is 79 in this country, and I fear what happens when we lose. You know, not that I'm a big fan of how the boomers ran everything for their generation, but they are still, to a certain degree, a stabilizing force in that boomers on the left and the right share a lot of their political views. Now, I'm not a big fan, to be completely honest. I'm not saying I like 60%, 70, 80. No, I actually don't like a lot of the foreign policy, the neoliberalism, neoconservatism. But that being said, my concerns are what the Democratic Party is turning into. And I've got a few examples. Here's the Washington Examiner. What happens if the DSA abolishes the Senate? I mean, this is just a massively destabilizing action. It doesn't seem feasible, but as the Democratic Socialists are ascendant, it is quite possible that, look, things change. Amendments happen. The manifesto comes after a series of primary victories by the DSA, reflecting the organization's renewed energy and long-term plan to replace what it argues are undemocratic institutions within the government, with the government more directly accountable to voters. Now, what I will say is that if we did get rid of the Senate, the SAVE Act is passed overnight, and it could be tremendously good for Republicans. But I feel that despite all of the problems with the Senate, it's largely been stabilizing for this country. And a fundamental shift like the abolition of the Senate is not the appropriate way to go about things. I believe the best way to deal with the problems of the Senate would be to repeal the 17th Amendment, which turned state appointment of senators into a popular vote. It used to be that local elections were held. The state senators and state representatives would then appoint a representative from their state to go to Washington, D.C. And I believe that's the way it should have remained. The concern back in the day when they implemented the 17th was that cronyism and corruption were getting senators put in place in exchange for backroom deals. But
see, and this is where I agree with Tim Pool. I mean, you know, the 17th Amendment, democracy is the biggest thing that these liberals argue for. Oh, democracy is so great. But do you really trust the masses? I mean, what do they say when they say that if you follow the masses, just take out the M and that's what you get? I mean, I don't trust the majority of people. They are easily fooled. And these socialists are using things such as race, age, gender, to directly target the majority of America. And they are winning, unfortunately, among these people. It's going to be a scary future. We'll see.
But I can tell you this. Having it run by popular vote hasn't improved anything. It's just effectively turned it into another Congress. And we're not seeing anything get done, as it were. They're not willing to do the hard things that they need to do. Right now, we've seen at the state level tremendous action, notably in Texas with Ken Paxton. I imagine that if you had at the local level the appointment of senators, you'd see a tremendous change because they could also recall these senators. More importantly, it would make people in their states understand and actually know who their state representatives and senators are, affecting local policy. You start from the grassroots and you go up to the top. Right now, the way we're doing it, I think, is bad. But the DSA's idea to abolish it, yikes. And to really strike at the core of what the DSA is, I love this. DSA launches new program. They say, these are all familiar everyday activities. A socialist day off could be like any good day now. But what if you were free to spend your time how you like without worrying about cost or dreading going back to work? What if you didn't have to think about paying rent or loans at the end of the month, or saving for college or affording groceries? Indeed. It's not real. It's not possible. The reality is life is a treadmill. If you stand still, you'll move backwards.
Yeah.
If you walk, you stay where you are. You have to sprint to get ahead. That's an old saying, but it's true. That is, we exist in a state of constant entropy. If you don't eat, you starve, you die. If you don't breathe, then you asphyxiate, you die. Hypoxia, as it were. We need to constantly work to maintain existence as we fight against entropy. That is, in one way of describing it, chaos and disorder. But in fact, the heat of the universe, I'd imagine, would be ultimate order with every remaining particle evenly spread about the universe.
Amen. Well, that was Tim Pool reviewing Bill Maher's change in political landscape. Bill Maher, Tulsi Gabbard, are things changing in the Democratic Party? Are they getting fed up with all their nonsense as well? I would have to say so. I mean, if you agree, comment below. Let me know what you think about this. Well, that's it for America Only today. Just make sure you like and subscribe and follow. We will be dropping 2 videos a day every single week, and we find these clips so you don't have to. And remember, it is not America first, not America last. It is America only. And I will see you on the next one.